Hey everybody, it's Jared Hope with Tuesday Tilt Talks, and my co-host for this afternoon is the lovely, beautiful, no actually he's not all that beautiful, but this is Vinny Fiacco, and most of you guys are used to seeing Krista and I just riffing it up and kind of her running my show, but I'm in Edmonton and we're getting ready for our next free event at the Real Life Real Estate Investing Workshop, and so Vinny Fiacco is an agent that I use. And so Vinny, say hi.
Hey everyone. So
Vinny's not used to doing the Facebook Lives with me, and I don't think he understands that I talk all the time. And so I give you full permission to kind of jive in or jump in and push me off the chair if you want. So Vinny, these Facebook Lives are first and foremost, let me just clear it up. These Facebook Lives are purely meant as a no bullshit zone. So we swear, we just shoot the shit and there's no lying, because you and I have gone to workshops and we've done events and we've done all kinds of things, and there's not always the truth being shared, and that's a frustration that you and I have shared.
But the great part about your events is we're a room full of action takers,
right?
And that's why I'm excited to present tonight.
Oh, you weren't supposed to tell people you're presenting. Ooh. You've been the secret sauce.
The secret agent.
You've been the secret agent that I've been pumping everybody, and you just released it to the crowd.
It is.
So listen, tonight it is true. Vinny Fiacco is presenting, and Vinny is. I often refer to Vinny as if you were to go. You know how we joke around about this a lot. There's guys that sell stocks, and they're constantly on the phone working the deal, and then when it's time to close that deal, they always pass the phone off. Vinny's that guy you pass the phone off. So I've done lots of deals with Vinny over the years, and he's just phenomenal. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, dude, yeah, kudos to you. So with that said, let's talk. So tonight we're going to be talking about negotiating, and let's talk about not so much how to negotiate, but how do you find the right property? So a client calls you up. I'm going to move this back. Hey, first of all, does everyone see how many layers of people are behind us? This is awesome. This is our screen for the event tonight. It's going to be fantastic. Dan, how's it going? So let's take it back to the beginning. How do you find the right property?
Yeah, you really have to be on top of the system. You have to work with someone that knows the market, knows the area, and is really on top of it. Day one, once it hits the MLS, it's you have to jump on it right away.
And how important is it to, you're an agent, how long have you been an agent?
8 years.
And I noticed you just got an award. What was your award?
Top 5 in my office.
And so, out of how many agents? 3? 4?
150.
Oh, yeah. There's 5 agents and you were top 5. Good
top
job.
5, yeah. Totally.
So there's 150 agents, you're top 5. So you're in the top 15%.
Yeah, top 5% in Edmonton.
Oh, top 5%, right? So you're in the top 15, yeah, which is huge. So Dan just fired a useless contractor. Sorry, I won't be. Dan, unbelievable, kick-ass Vinny. Vinny's for sure gonna kick ass. So when you go to source a property, you and I talk often about finding the deals before they hit the market.
Totally.
And how hard are you working to find those deals? Like, what do you do? How do you find those deals?
That's
or is that trade secret?
That's a trade secret. I've got a couple aces up my sleeve, and I get it's just about generating the contact and making the first contact,
or generating the relationship.
Yep, it's all relationships.
Build the relationship, and other agents will call you up. Hey, I'm about to list this house.
Absolutely,
I got this house, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And also establishing in the market that you deal with clients that are buyers.
Yep.
Or maybe that you have a list of buyers.
Yep.
That they might want to take advantage of.
And it's no BS. I do have a list of buyers. And
listen, I've listened to Vinny close deals before, and a lot of you guys know that I also use another agent named Keith Faria, and actually Keith just signed on too. But and everyone knows me. Like you call me all the time and say, "Oh, you're a player. You got this. You're a mover shaker. You got this dialed in, right?" But the reality is, what I've done is I've surrounded myself with great people, and you're one of those.
That is one of your strengths. I give that to you, Jared. That is one of your strengths.
I feel like we should hug right now,
off camera. But yeah, that is your strength for sure. You surround yourself with the right team. he has the contractors, he has the realtors, he has the whole team. So
yeah,
kudos to you, man.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing our tilt group. You know, our tilt group is what we want to do is cut out all the fluff, as you know. Like you and I talk about this all the time, Vinny. We talk all the time about just giving people the real goods to have success.
Yep.
And you know, buying the right property. You know, like let's talk about this. How important is it? And I talk a lot about this, but how important is it to understand your tenant profile before you buy a property? And the segue to that. You have a client from out of town, from BC, for example. We see a lot of BC investors coming into Alberta right now. You have a BC client coming in. How do you support them with understanding tenant profile of what they're buying?
Well, your out of town client, they trust you, and so you have to be that resource that gets it down, or else.
But I get that, because obviously every agent's going to be saying, yeah, you can trust me, you can trust me, you can trust me. So what do you do to support your client to understand the area they're buying in?
Yeah, you have to show a proven track record of what the property type is and what your tenant profile is going to be in such area.
So at what point do you bring in, because you do a lot of work with our management company.
Yep.
You know, every time we find a property for a client, you're coming in and bringing it to us to you know, confirm rents or confirm the market or the area, because at the end of the day, you are a realtor, you're an agent, and which is great, but you're not a property manager. So at what point do you bring in, you know, a company like us to advise or help?
I bring you in right off the get-go.
Start, right, totally.
Yep.
Right, because at the end of the day, now you and I talk about this often as well. You know, whose job is it for the client? Whose job is it to confirm numbers of rents? Is it your job or is it the client's job?
At the end of the day, it's the client's job.
Absolutely.
They have to do the due diligence, but we're the resource for that. So you really have, if you build upon a bad relationship with that client, they're not going to trust you. So you want to build a long-term rapport with them.
Totally.
And so if you do a good job for them, they'll use you again and again and again.
Yeah.
And you want to build their portfolio, and that's what we're doing.
So okay, so let's go back to you have a client and they want to find a property. How do you sit down with them and determine what type of, or what end of town or what area they want to buy in? Because everybody, and you and I talk about this often as well, everybody's running to this LRT line on the southeast leg, and everyone's trying to buy within 800 meters of the track. And what I tell everybody is buy within 2,500 meters. Don't go within 800 meters of the track. And we're actually doing a field trip. Keith and I are going to do a field trip, and we're going to ride the train. We're going to ride the train all the way down the track, and every stop we're going to do video of 800 meters, right? Right? You laugh.
You're a beauty.
No, it's true, right? Because people say go buy within 800 meters of the track, but you and I have lived in Edmonton our whole lives, except for me the last 3 years. Hang on. What kind of tenant profile is along the track?
C+. Right.
Or D.
Yep.
You know, like there's lots of row houses and low income housing all along the track.
Yep.
So so when someone's coming to invest and they say, hey, Vinny, I want to buy along the track, you know, like how do you have the conversation saying, listen, there's other potential areas that might produce better results?
You have to assess the client's goals and their long-term vision, right? You can't just look at a short-term profile. You have to assess it long-term and just go with that and provide them with the info.
Right.
You know, along the tracks in Vancouver works. In Edmonton, you're dealing with a different profile. In Toronto, the LRT will work because the transportation is ideal.
So on that note, how many, like you sell lots of properties if you're top 5 and top 5%. So if you're top 5%, how many times does a client call you up and say, hey, I want to buy along the track? Like honestly, how many times does that happen? I
got a couple. You know, hey, I want to buy a 1-bedroom condo along the track, and that. You know, I'm like, come on, you don't want.
No, but hang on. Well, that is true. But how many times do you find people actually want? That's my question. How many times do you find people? Because if you do that many deals, how many people actually want to own a property within 800 meters of the track?
I'd say 5% of the time.
Right. Most often or not, what kind of areas do they want to live in?
Well, you're looking at either the suburban areas or the middle class area. That's kind of the area that I focus on. Right?
And if they take the train, how do they get there?
Their cars are driving.
They'll drive.
Totally.
They'll get in their car, they'll drive to the train, and they'll get out of their car and they'll walk to the train, hop on, and away they go.
Yep.
You know, what we're finding, the truth is, because once again, Tuesday Tilt Talks is all about the truth, no bullshit. Mm-hmm. The truth is, most people don't want to live that close to the train.
Nope. It is what it is.
No, and I'm not saying, listen, and I'm not saying at no time am I saying don't buy next to the train. Just understand the tenant profile that's living there.
Totally.
And you can buy, we have lots of clients that have properties within the 800 meters of the train, and they understand their tenant profile. We have lots of properties, owners who have properties in what I call shopping cart communities, and they still have lots and lots of success. So if that's the case, all I'm saying is just understand your tenant profile. And what we're finding is a lot of people are coming in from out of province and they want to buy along the train thinking that a doctor is going to live there.
It's
doesn't always happen.
It's not going to happen. Not in Edmonton.
Right?
Yeah.
So what would be, so you've transacted lots of properties. You and I have done lots of properties. So from an investor's point of view, what are some, top 2, top 3 tips an investor can do to put an offer on a deal, which we're going to be sharing some of this stuff tonight.
We're going to share some of that
So
tonight.
I don't know. Well, actually, you know what? It's Tuesday Tilt Talks. A lot of people are watching from Ontario and Vancouver and Regina, wherever they're watching from. And then after this, we're going to boost it out. So what are some tips for investors who are all across the country? What are some things?
Work with a pro.
Absolutely.
Don't work with a novice. And
so here's a great example. Now I've transacted 285 properties, bought and sold. And I bought everything from for sale by owners to agreement for sales to stuff with agents, all that stuff. A little while ago, you brought me a deal.
Yep.
And it was an expired listing, or the listing, we went and looked at it. The listing expired.
Yeah.
And I ended up buying this on my own. Sure. Right. So you and I had a conversation, and I ended up going off and buying this house on my own.
Sure.
How bad of a deal was that? Right? How challenging was it for me as representing with the seller?
It was a challenge because
right?
Jared's dealing with the seller.
And huge emotion.
Emotion.
And the funny thing is, she didn't move out. So we had a close date of February, whatever it was, February 6th or 5th or some 1st or something like that. And she actually never moved out of the house.
Yep.
Where if I had an agent involved, all of a sudden you're managing all that.
We deal with that. We deal with when you're buying for sale by owner. You don't know what you're getting at the closing. You're dealing with that BS. Right. And that's what we do as agents. As a listing agent, your job is to make sure everything closes on time and the seller's out and moved on. So that's one of the major advantages of using an agent versus doing yourself. Now, I bought lots of properties by myself, and I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying there are some situations that might show up. And like even a guy like me who's bought so many properties, this is something I've never experienced before. And I was even calling Vinny saying, Vinny, like, dude, like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting. So negotiating, what are some of your, just tips that you could give to an investor or someone who's looking to buy a house? What are some tips that you could give somebody to negotiate for negotiating? For negotiating as an agent or as a buyer, like you're working, you're buying kind of both. So you're looking at buying an investment property and you're representing a client or they're representing themselves. What kind of tips, advice can you give them to have some success? Well, the best scenario is when you're the only buyer on the table. When you're dealing in multiple offers, that's a different. Okay, so let's talk about that. Sure. How do you stand out above the crowd if you're in a multiple offer? It's no secret. You go in with limited conditions on the contract, and you're going above list. Right. End of the day, and the numbers have to make sense if you're going above list. And that's not necessarily true either, though, Vinny. You and I bought lots of properties, multiple below list. I've bought dozens and dozens and dozens below list, multiple offer. But why? Why do we get those properties? No conditions. Well, no. Aside from that, why do we get those properties? Because I bought properties with conditions. Well, you're a known closer, and not only that, but why? Because of you, because of the agent, because you go off and build a relationship. Because I talk about this often, build a relationship with people. Totally. Yep. So if you're building a relationship with people, although we might be in a multiple offer, if you have a strong relationship with that selling agent, there could be us getting countered first. That could happen. I'm not saying agents move things and shimmy and shake things. However, if you're building a relationship with somebody and your job is to sell me as the buyer to the selling agent who then takes it to the seller, and his job is to sell it. Because at the end of the day, we have two agents who want to get a sale. Two agents, we have to all work together. Absolutely. And you want to be the shiniest apple. If you're dealing with, if you want to be successful at closing deals, you want to be the shiniest apple. Building a relationship with the other agents, hands down, having a known reputation for closing deals helps you along the way. Absolutely. Yep. And establishing, like using an agent that
is well known in the industry,
Yep.
is trusted in the industry, is huge. Like I don't know how many times I've seen people go off and use an agent, a friend of a friend, or
a part-timer,
or someone who does it part-time, and they kick tires, which is totally fine.
Yeah.
But if you're playing the game, like I always say, play the game to win. You know, if you're using an agent who has a huge reputation, a good reputation, because there's lots of agents who have huge reputations that are bad, and then using an agent that has virtually no reputation because they don't do enough, the odds are the guy who has a strong reputation will get more deals done than the guy who doesn't. Yeah.
Of course, using someone that has a proven track record, you'll be successful 110% of the time.
Absolutely. 110%. That sounds like a guarantee.
I can't.
Was that a Vinny Fiacco guarantee?
You will be successful using a successful agent with a proven track record.
Absolutely. And then the other thing, now this is where you talk about me, just so we're clear. How important it is to follow somebody who's walking their talk.
Hands down, right? Very important. That's a part of the
now
game.
You got to talk about me a little bit right now.
You're a star, Jared. What you do is phenomenal, and you help your clients grow, and that's what we're doing.
You and I joke around, and we laugh a lot about stuff, and but on all honesty, it is important to follow. I put a post up on Twitter and Facebook the other day, and I'll get you to answer this question as well. And the question was, if you were to ask someone on advice on where to buy real estate, and they responded with, if I were buying, I would buy over there, or here's where I'm buying, who would you follow? Right?
Totally.
You follow the guy
that's doing it. The guy that's doing it.
There's lots of people that are putting on workshops and groups that are putting on workshops, and the owners actually don't own anything, or they're investors who own one or two, and yet they're out talking about it. I see coaches all the time in this market who call themselves coaches or mentors, and they're charging people for advice, and they actually have only ever bought themselves 6-7 properties.
That's fine.
Which is fine, and I'm not knocking it, but the experience that they have is limited.
That's fine.
You know what? That'd be no different than me using an agent that has only transacted 2 deals versus somebody who's in the top 5.
Yep.
At the end of the day, that's the example, right?
Yep.
So it's super important to follow people that are giving you the right guidance and
that are actually in it, doing it.
Yeah, totally. Yep. What else? So we've been on for 17 minutes, and you've been an excellent host.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you should see the skirt Vinny's wearing. It's unbelievable. What other advice or tips? What's going on in Edmonton? Tell me what's going on in Edmonton right now. What are you seeing in the market?
We're heading to the spring market, and we're seeing if your home is priced properly, we're getting multiple offers.
Right. So multiple offers are back.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I just read an interesting stat on Twitter. Somebody posted a RECA thing. They were saying that home listings are down 5% year over year. So there's less listings on the market today. Interesting trend, because I follow trends. And then home sales are up 5%.
That's fantastic.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Less supply, more demand. What happens?
Well,
multiple offers.
Multiple offers, sure.
And then what happens? House prices go up.
Yep.
And then what happens? Rents go up.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. We're trending up, and you have to look at it from a long-term perspective. Edmonton isn't a Vancouver market where things shoot up like 50%. Well, it did back a few years back.
Yeah,
but we're not going to see that. We'll see gradual growth, and slow and steady is nice.
So what do you think? Like, what are you hearing or thinking or seeing or or feedback you're getting from your brokerage? Because REMAX is a big brokerage.
Yeah.
What's your feedback, or what are you hearing the market's going to do in the next 12 months?
I think it's going to be a continuation of last year. It's just going to be an increase of you'll see an increase of demand. You'll see a lot of first-time home buyers jump in the market as rents go up. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then what are you seeing as far as what's your normal clientele? Is it like under 30 to 50? What are you seeing happening right now? My average clientele ranges from 30 to 50.
Yeah, so kind of everything.
Yeah, but I'd say the average Joe, which is your first time buyer, or your buyer in the 250 to 350, 400 range.
So first time investor, first time buyer, first time everything.
Yeah, for seller that's been in his house for 10, 15 years.
Right. So what kind of properties are you seeing in Edmonton that have the biggest opportunity?
I'm seeing the ones that you're doing, Jared. No, by far.
I've seen the ones you're doing, Jared.
By far,
no, it's true, right? Like, they're bungalows. They're the suited bungalows. You know, right now what we're seeing is some 2-story houses are starting to show up that are interesting as well. Sure. We're starting to see some good opportunity there with garages in the back. Mm-hmm. We're starting to see some newer townhouses are starting to work. Yep. Because rents are starting to move up. Yep. Right. Yep. So top 3 things for people to sign off with right now.
Use,
on anything.
You know what? It's don't go at this alone.
Right.
Surround yourself with people that are successful, and if you're in a good circle, you are who you hang around with.
Oh, good advice.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Good advice. Did you get that from Donald Trump's lawyer?
Right.
That's one advice. What else?
Oh, you know, there's.
Let's give him a writing offer tip.
You always want to be the first one to the table. If you can, present in person, not over texting.
That's 2 tips. I just said 1, but yeah. Texting. How many agents? Let's talk about this. This is a sore topic for me. How many agents text an offer?
You know what? That
seems to be a common theme of communication.
I've had one where someone emailed me the offer and didn't even call me, and said, "Oh, I emailed you the offer 2 hours ago." Well, I'm in appointments. How am I going to know? Like,
and you get many emails.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You know what? Constant communication is key. So
right.
if you're going to present one of the biggest transactions of someone's life, you know, be professional.
Absolutely.
You know, a text message is fine, but at least follow up with a phone call.
Right. Because the art of communication is done over text now, right?
Absolutely. That's the art.
So with that said, I hang out with Jared a lot. Who wrote that? I don't know who wrote that, but it came from Tilt Group. So I bet you that's my daughter getting on the computer, putting stuff. Or that might be Krista texting as well, because I see she signed in. So with that said, Vinny, thank you very much. Tonight at the Hyatt West in Edmonton, Real Life Real Estate Investing is on it. We're at it again, and we're going to be talking about what's important or what's stopping you from just taking action. I have a guy by the name of Wayne Herbert, who is our accountant, and he's also a premium service provider of the Tilt Property Group. Hey, John. John and I do text a lot. Anyways, Wayne Herbert's going to be here tonight, and we're going to be talking federal budget. How does that impact us as investors? What do we got to watch out for? How are we going to pay taxes? What are we paying? You know, there's all kinds of controversy and confusion going on. Vinny and I are going to be doing a negotiation and writing offer topic at the end. And tonight's going to be a full house. We have 120 seats, and we have 110 showing up. So it's going to be unreal tonight. So with that said, our next event's April 18th. Get ready. We're doing a 2-day event coming up in May. We have all kinds of service providers. I'm about to announce a pretty big contract agreement with a way to pay rent. It's kind of an interesting journey that we're going down. So my name is Jared Hope with Tilt Property Group. Thank you very much to Vinny Fiaco.
Thank you.
With REMAX, and he's been worried about his tie all day, so make sure you're putting posts about how great and perfectly straight his tie is. And if you're thinking about getting started investing in real estate, follow us, like it, share it, and we'll look forward to seeing you April 18th at the Hyatt. Thanks, everyone.